and welcome back to Monetize Your Mind, where creativity earns you extra money. And this show is really about giving you tips, tools, techniques to help you, well, generate more revenue from, as Bob was saying in the last segment, the diamonds in your own field. So, Bob, we want to go into a little deeper into the components and the pieces of creating the revenue. I know we actually stopped with one of the slides coming up on repurposing. Want to cover that real quick, and then we can get back into the value of this show being the value of your mind.
Well, in repurposing, what we'll be talking about are the various ways of taking one piece of content and recreating it and reusing it in various venues, various methods. And people sometimes feel like they have to be doing all these different things, and actually if you can capture content, if you can capture your ideas in one format, a lot of times you can have other people take that and repurpose it, and we'll talk about that. Yeah,
I mean, one of the things we were talking about before the show is that everything that you create, when you talk about more power to publish, well, you know, kind of old schoolers will sit there and think, well, that's a book. But a lot of other people understand, no, people like to eat their information in multiple formats, whether it's Kindle or some other digital e-form, or whether they like to listen to it or they want to view it, whatever it is, there's always 6 or 8 other uses for everything you create, well, right?
I like to help people create books. I like to help them find out how to take their ideas and the vision that they have and how to turn it into something written that expresses what they want to express. And there's an art form in that, and I have friends that are book coaches and book strategists that are great at doing that. But in the process of teaching people how to do that, they can actually use that system as a metaphor, and it doesn't have to be creating a book. It can be creating a stream of knowledge that they can license, for example, a stream of training, a stream of videos.
And all that's turned into a stream of revenue.
That's right.
Right?
And that's how you monetize your mind.
That's right. That's right. It's so cool. So the last thing you were talking, I know that we'll talk about your More Power to Publish workshop, correct? That's one of the slides we have, and I'd love to go ahead and put that up there so that we can look at that real quick.
And actually, if the website, morepowertopublish.com, if they want to go there, they can find out more about the workshop that's coming up actually in the middle of May 17, 18, and 19 in Irvine, California. We have some really great experts, well-known people that will be there, kind of pulling back the curtain and explaining this. And if someone is watching this later on a DVD or on YouTube or Vimeo or something, we're sure to have other presentations of it, other formats of it, because we'll repurpose the content, of course, from that conference and make it available to people.
That is awesome. I know that one of the things I'm going to go back to is the value of your mind. When we look at that slide, there's a lot of information in there. And what is it that you want to cover in this segment when you look at that slide?
Well, I want to cover some of the different aspects. People think that if they talk about the value of their mind or the value of the intellectual property that someone has in their head, they think of knowledge. It's a lot more than just knowledge. Of course, as we specialize, as we learn, as we study our niche, we learn certain aspects of knowledge, but other people can learn that also. But it's some of the other things that are actually what create the value that we can monetize. One of them is experience. It's one of the things I discovered when I wrote my first book. I had it all laid out step by step. This is how you become, this was More Power, an Entrepreneur's Roadmap to Success. And I had all the steps. These are what you need to do to be a successful entrepreneur. And I turned it over to a wise book strategist, and she read it and she said, you know, Bob, this is all true and it's all right, but it's really kind of boring. She said, oops, why don't you tell some stories? Why don't you tell experiences that you had? When you talk about failing at something, why don't you tell us what it was like and what happened when you failed and what you learned from it? When you succeeded and were extremely successful in one particular venue or avenue. Why don't you tell us about that? Tell us some stories. Tell us stories of other people. And it's actually our experiences that become very important. And it's people love to hear the stories of how we did it, how that happened. And for our listeners, you've had experiences. You've had things happen to you that would be really valuable for me to hear about. And so you need to realize that your background, your experiences are valuable. The next thing that is valuable is perspective. And a person's perspective can make all the difference in the world. There are people that have such an amazing perspective on the economic situation in the world. They might have a completely, totally different perspective than I do on how to earn income from your assets. And you might have, in your own field, in your own niche, you probably have some perspectives and some understanding, some wisdom about your field that's very valuable to other people. And so it's important to take what our listeners have and help teach them how to pull that out, how to draw them out, how to monetize that.
Very cool. One of the things that I see in what you're doing, Bob, that is really important is that you're showing people the keys to creating great wealth from what's between their ears. This is monetizing your mind. We'll be right back.
You can become a published author. Discover a system that will lead you from idea to having your book on the bookshelves. Bob Baer pulls back the curtain at the More Power to Publish workshop. Watch and learn how to follow the step-by-step plan to turn your idea into a published book. Learn more at morepowertopublish.com.